This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
The leader of the pan-Yoruba socio-political organization Afenifere, Ayodeji Adebanjo, has died at the age of 96. Adebanjo lived a storied life, seeing the emergence of post-colonial Nigeria, the military dictatorships, and the subsequent return to democracy. Joining the conversation this morning to celebrate his life and talk about his legacy is historian and socio-political commentator Gbadamosi Adigun. Good morning, Mr. Adigun, and thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Good morning, Stephen. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Sir, 96 is a long time for anybody to live, and Pa Adebanjo managed to do this. He is known for a lot, but what would you say is his most lasting legacy?
Okay, well, you said 96 is a long time. Well, Pa Adebanjo actually desired and prayed to live as long as his father lived, 105, and but as God will have it, he had 96. So, but let me start by saying that my condolences to the immediate family and the progressive family in Nigeria. We've lost a great gem. It's a very huge loss to the progressive family of the political structure of Nigeria. Interestingly, Adebanjo is one person that I've lived through the entire history of Nigeria from beginning till date. That's pre-colonial, colonial era, post-colonial era, post-independence, civil war, and even military era. Went further, lived through the era of Nadeko, was part of the Nadeko movement, was part of the present democracy we are in, was the leader of the Alliance for Democracy, and then Afenifere. So its life is such that it encompasses a huge part of Nigeria's history. Because there's no way you can put Nigeria's history together without Pa Adebanjo's immense presence and looming large and contribution.
So it seems, from your response, it seems like it's a bit difficult to kind of tie him down to one most lasting or most enduring legacy. In more recent memory, his legacy has been around Afenifere, which you've mentioned kind of like lasting just the trajectory of his history with Nigeria. Speak to us about how you think he uniquely shaped the socio-cultural, socio-political group.
One of the lasting legacy of Pa Adebanjo is the fact that he was an Awoist to the core. And even those that disagree with him on so many things would not take that away from him. He was one of the very strong and staunch disciples of the Awoist movement, the philosophy of Awolowo that has to do with free education, free healthcare services, welfareism for the people, regionalism, and the restructuring of Nigeria, and all of that. So that was one of his very strong legacy. And one of the other things you cannot also take away from Pa Adebanjo is the fact that he was this kind of person that would speak his mind, that would address issues the way he perceives them, and notwithstanding the position of he was a person that was ready to stand alone in any argument. It doesn't matter whether all of you are on one side and he's just the only one on this side. He would push his position and insist on his position. And that, for me, it speaks of a person that has a great level of conviction and integrity in what he does. So, to a great extent, when you talk about Afenifere is more for me on the latter part of his life, and that part of his life was the one most of us will see today. But there are quite a great number of things that has happened in the past in his life that are great legacies also.
Right. It would be impossible to have this conversation without mentioning what we have witnessed in recent times from Afenifere, seeming split in the from the leadership of the movement to the various camps that came up in the latter part of Adebanjo's life. Can you speak to us about this and how you think this story will go down in history?
Well, the Afenifere issue, it happens to be a fairly complex one because Afenifere was something that came as an offshoot of the struggle for democracy after the Nadeko era, the Abacha era. Then we had an Afenifere in 1998, thereabout. And then Afenifere also gave birth to what you call the Alliance for Democracy, that's a political party, which Adebanjo was the leader. And Afenifere and Alliance for Democracy had quite some issues when it comes to throwing up candidates and all of that. You know, the thing about political interplay and all of that. And as a result of some differences, individual differences within the party and the leadership of Afenifere, there were issues that they had then that splitted the Afenifere group at a point in time. And this issue, for me, started as far back as when you had the primary that led to the emergence of Chief Olufalaye as the candidate of the Alliance for Democracy for the elections of 1999 presidential election. That was contested between Chief Olufalaye and Chief Bolaige. And that singular primary divided Afenifere, and it went on. And that was when you had a parting of ways within the party. Also, you had the issue about Bolaige, his involvement in the Obasanjo's administration, when Adebanjo then was staunchly opposed to the fact that Bolaige has no business being in that government, and for him, being in that government was a validation of the government of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo then. And that also created a lot of issues, which also started creating a drift apart in the Afenifere group. And when we now saw that over time, and then this drifting apart continued until what we saw in the last presidential election of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Labour Party and all of that. So it's a thing that dates back quite a while.
Right. Well, it definitely is a legacy that will be studied for generations to come. We would like to express our condolences to every Yoruba person, every Nigerian at the loss of such a storied and patriotic Nigerian. Our guest on this conversation, Gbadamosi Adigun, is a historian and socio-political commentator. He joined us this morning to speak on the legacy of the late leader of the pan-Yoruba socio-political organization Afenifere, Ayodeji Adebanjo, who died at the age of 96. We pray that his soul rests in peace. You're still on to Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. We urge you to stay on to your Beyond the News station. We return to the conversations in just a moment.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.